Hello, how are you? I'm so glad you're here. In this video, I want to talk a wee bit about where our attention goes and the difference that can make in terms of our symptoms when we're experiencing ongoing pain or other persistent symptoms. So often what happens when we've got pain or other symptoms is that becomes the focus point of our lives often. And that's understandable because it can be such an all-consuming, such an overwhelming thing when you've got a pain that just doesn't seem to go away. It just seems to be there all the time. It's when you wake up in the morning, even if it's disturbing you during the night as well, potentially. When you're up and about, it's there, it's interfering with what you want to do. So very naturally, it becomes the focus of your attention. And that can be a really tricky thing to change. And the problem is that the more it becomes the focus of our attention, then the more we begin to notice every wee twinge or every wee change in sensation. Because our body, which is just reacting normally to things, then sends these messages which our brain is interpreting as being something wrong. So often when a change in the length of the muscle or a change in position or a wee bit of pressure from sitting or moving in some way, which is just a normal sensation, because we're so focused, because our attention is so focused on the area where the symptom is, our brain then picks it up as, oh goodness, something's changed there. That must be something wrong. I must cause more symptoms. I must alert that there's danger there and I must do my best to protect from that danger. Because if you remember, what we always say is that ultimately your brain's job is to protect you from danger and keep you safe. So it's very difficult not to be focused on the pain. But the difficulty is, as I said, the more you focus on it, the more you tend to notice sensations. It's a bit like if you think in everyday life, if you're thinking of buying a new car and you've decided on a make and model, then suddenly everywhere you go, you notice that everywhere there's an awful lot more of that make and model about. Or if you're thinking of looking for a dress for a wedding or something, or a new outfit, or whatever it may be, you seem to notice that everywhere you go. And the flip side as well is if it's something maybe that isn't a good experience, so perhaps someone who's had a miscarriage or someone who's lost their dog or something, that you seem to then notice everybody's pregnant or everyone's got a dog, or you know what I mean? It seems to be that kind of thing. So it's not that suddenly in the world there are more making models of the car you're going to buy, or suddenly there's more dogs in the world. What happens is just because that's where your attention is, that's what your brain's thinking about. So it's looking for it, it's picking up, oh, there's a dog. Because before you wouldn't have noticed, so many dogs. But now you're like, oh, there's a dog, and there's another dog, and why is everyone a dog? It's just because your brain is looking for it. It's on the outlook, but that's where your attention is. So it's focusing on looking for that. And the same thing happens when you're experiencing persistent pain or other ongoing symptoms. That becomes the focus. So your brain is then on the lookout for anything at all in your body that might be perceived as danger. So as I said, often it's what is actually a normal alteration in muscle tension and pressure from sitting, standing, moving, whatever it may be. Normal changes perhaps within your digestive tract, just normal wee sort of changes that would go on like that. But if your brain is focused and tuned in on that, then it perceives it as something to be worried about, and it sends that alert message, oh, quick, need to focus, which ramps up your symptoms again. Now, it's very easy for me to sit here and say, well, just don't pay any attention to it, just distract yourself and think happy thoughts and we know that that's not the way it works, and we know that's not very feasible for most people. But it comes back a bit again to the somatic tracking that we've talked about before. And if you want to know about that, there is a previous episode where I've recorded a somatic tracking exercise for you to have a listen to. The difference when we're talking about somatic tracking is it's not about not noticing the symptoms here. So we're not saying you should ignore if you feel a pain in your abdomen or your knees sore or whatever. We're not saying you should ignore it, but it's all about how you respond to it. And if you can respond to it with a calm, reassuring manner, then your brain learns that it's not anything necessarily to fear. Over time, it learns it's not anything to fear. And again, over time, behind that is what comes as your brain learns not to be so focused on the pain. Because what also happens is, because we become so focused on the pain and these sensations, is the brain doesn't tend to notice the nicer sensations, and it's all about these painful, these uncomfortable, these distressing symptoms, and we don't notice the pleasant sensations. So by using a wee bit of somatic tracking, noticing the sensations, so I'm noticing that as I stood up there, I felt a bit of pain in my knee, but I know that's okay. I know that's just because my knee joint has to move to let me to stand up, and it's not anything to worry about. So you're reassuring that there's nothing wrong there, there's no danger. And then throughout the day, trying to notice pleasant sensations as well, because that's something that we tend not to notice when we're so focused on the pain or other persistent symptoms. We tend to forget, our brain kind of, not intentionally, but blocks out those other ones because it's focused. When there's danger, is I have to focus on these potentially harmful signals. So it starts to lose interest and lose recognition of the pleasant sensations that would normally occur. So that could be the smell of the flowers out in the garden, or a nice soft jumper on your arm, or smell of something nice cooking. We tend not to notice these the same when we're living with persistent symptoms, because our brain becomes so focused on the symptoms that it's dealing with. So throughout the day, try to make a point of noticing nice sensations as well, be that the smell of coffee, be it children laughing out playing in the park, be it a nice warm blanket, whatever it is, but just trying to tune into these more pleasant sensations as well, because as I said, the brain becomes so focused, so tuned in to these painful, potentially harmful, as perceived by the brain, symptoms, that it forgets everything else as well. So we notice more of what we're looking for. So if we're looking for something to be sore all the time, then your brain's going to notice it more, which reinforces the message of danger, which increases your symptoms. It's not realistic for most people just to say, oh, well, we're just not paying attention to it then. That's not realistic. Even when you think you're doing that, the chances are it's still in the back of your mind, it's still kind of going away there. So notice the sensation, but in a calm, reassuring way. I can feel that pain in my back just now, but I know it's just because it's just a bit of pressure coming from the chair. It's not anything to worry about. It's a perfectly normal sensation that my brain is just misinterpreting. So you're reassuring that the sensation itself is not anything to worry about. And throughout the day, and even at that point, you can try and distract yourself if the pain's quite high, or throughout the day, notice other pleasant sensations that are going on. Make a conscious effort to do that, because I say, when you're living with persistent symptoms, the brain becomes so focused on the negative symptoms, on the painful symptoms, that it starts to not really notice when nice things are happening too. Okay, so that's today's video. So just be careful what you're looking for. Notice what it is that your brain is on the outlook for, and see if you can switch that a wee bit there to notice some of the more pleasant sensations, and reassure that the harmful sensations that you're feeling are often just a misinterpretation of the normal signals that your body is sending. Okay, bye for now.